Yeah, so
What's up?
guys, you just can't stop yourself, can you? Welcome back to another video. We're a bit hyper from the last one we done. It was quite a fun one. You'll probably see it on the channel before or after this, I don't know.
It's me getting beat up.
Pretty much. It's it's a try not to laugh with punishments. But yeah, you'll see it on the channel hopefully if you're interested. But we're doing a reaction to Oversimplified, and it's World War One. And you were saying just before you don't really know much about World War One. It's
Not
like
really, no.
we get taught about both, but World War Two is like the focus.
World War Two is the one that people know things about. Isn't it?
Yeah, like World War One is just sort of like you know a bit, but it's not. Again, it's not as taught here. But
Yeah.
gonna check this out. It's quite short, so we're gonna do the part 1 and part 2. Hopefully, I'll post them within the same day. We'll see. Links are in the description to my new channel, like I've said many times. But there's gonna be lots of different bits of content that I'm gonna post there soon. Same for Patreon, links are there. But we're gonna jump into this. You ready?
Ready.
Let's get into it. That's a bit weird.
The world of 1914, a time of modern technology, culture, and fashion. Truly the height of civilization. Let's have a war. Everyone knew a big war was coming. France wanted some stuff back that Germany had taken from it. Germany wanted to take more of everyone's stuff, and they were building a big sexy navy that was making the British uncomfortable. These two empires thought they were really cool, but lots of different people who lived there didn't think it was so cool. And some of them had even been declaring independence with help from
It's
Russia.
crazy how there's so many countries in
It's
this
so
area.
cool seeing like old Europe.
Yeah, and how
Right.
much it's changed, and how much it's still changing.
Yeah, really interesting, that sort of stuff.
Especially this area. Like, where's Serbia? Does it say?
I think it's there. Look.
Serbia, because now you've obviously got like Albania, which is there's a lot of things. Kosovo's now come since this video. Where's Kosovo?
And like Bosnia.
Oh yeah,
and
because
stuff like that.
Kosovo's like with Albania, isn't it? It's like I think it's Kosovo and Albania. It's not actually that important, but it is quite interesting to see this kind of stuff.
Had even been declaring independence with help from Russia. Everyone was talking about each other behind each other's backs. Throw in the fact that military technology had come a long way since the last major war, and suddenly everyone was pretty eager to beat each other up. In this area of Austria-Hungary lived some Serbs and Bosnians who hated
it's where he
living in
gets shot.
Austria-Hungary.
I
So the
remember.
Austro-Hungarian Archduke
France. Fuck, I was literally gonna
France,
say
so
it. That's pissed me. I was literally gonna say it.
Ferdinand goes there for a nice drive in
one's
an
gonna
open-top
believe me.
car with his car's route published in advance. And that went just about as well as you'd expect.
Who was he in charge of?
Some assassins
You're not listening.
Oh, I wasn't listening. No.
top car with his car's route published in advance. And that went just about as well as you'd expect. Some assassins were waiting for him along the way and threw bombs at his car, but they missed and blew up some officers behind him instead. So the Archduke goes into hiding, leaves Sarajevo, and the whole war never happens. Except no, the Archduke doesn't leave, but instead goes back out in the open-top car to visit the injured officers in hospital. The driver takes a wrong turn and by sheer coincidence gets stuck beside one of the veiled assassins, who shoots him. Austria-Hungary is understandably
There we
pissed
go.
about all this, and they think the Serbian government had something to do with it, which they might have. So they go to their ally Germany and say, "Hey Germany, we're going to declare war on Serbia," and Germany is all for that. So Austria-Hungary send a big list of impossible demands to Serbia, and when Serbia refuses, they declare war. Austria-Hungary and Germany are friends, and Serbia is protected by Russia, who's friends with France, so they'll declare war on each other. Montenegro joins in too. France and Britain also have a kind of alliance, so when France says, "Hey Britain, you got my back?" Britain is like,
Sure.
maybe. And then
Not
they
wanting
decide to
to,
stay
but-
out of it, which is great for Germany, because Germany has a plan. They know that Russia is so big and clumsy that it will take them a while to get ready for war. So with this guy in charge, Germany will send all its troops into France at lightning speed while Russia's getting ready.
It's always France that they
Defeat
get.
France,
Yeah,
then move
poor
all the
French.
troops to Russia and defeat Russia, and then we all speak German and eat Pfefferpottast every day. Just one problem. France has loads of forts and defenses along its German border, and Germany can't waste any time fighting them, so Germany decides to go around them, through Belgium. Belgium is neutral, but Germany wants to march 750,000 troops through it to get around France's defenses. They're hoping Belgium will just kind of sit down and shut up, but they don't. They fight back.
Go
And they're
on.
pretty good too, so they slow the Germans down. What's worse is that Britain shows up, and they're pretty pissed that Germany's invading neutral countries. So now Britain declares war on Germany.
The
So
boys.
Germany push
Come
on
on.
through Belgium and commit some atrocities along the way. They also wear spikes and sometimes skulls on the uniform. So if you're trying to not look like the bad guys, good job. The Allies have a propaganda extravaganza, and this starts having an influence
Holy
around
shit.
the world.
These are some crazy pictures. I mean, this is a drawing, but the next one, that's just.
Mm.
What the fuck? It's a little
Dark, innit?
baby.
Yeah.
And this starts
This one, I guess this is real, unless it
Looks pretty real.
Yeah.
having an influence around the world, notably in America. The U.S. President
Come on,
Woodrow
save us.
Wilson sees himself as a bit of a Jesus figure and spends most of the war trying to get everyone to just hug it out. But there's also a
Just be
large
friends.
population of ethnic Germans living in the United States, and when the war first broke out, they were like, yay, Germany. But now that they're committing atrocities in Belgium, they're less enthusiastic. Let's play Spot the French Soldier. Did you see him? Easy. He's wearing a bright blue uniform with red trousers. And do you know who else spotted him easily too? The Germans. So when the French were slowly marching in columns through the countryside, the Germans easily tore them to shreds with their giant guns. All the nations involved in this war went in with an old school war mentality, and all of them had to update their uniforms and tactics a lot during the Great War. Because this war was going to be like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Russia's ready for war, and way earlier than expected. Hey, Austria-Hungary, can you get on top of that?
What I found funny about this is how Russia and the US were actually kind of on each other's side at this point. Because this is obviously before they came to the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And then it all just completely switched. Like, you can never trust anything.
No, you
can
can't. Can't even trust your closest friends.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say they were friends, but... It is interesting how, like, 20, 30 years later, they're literally worst enemies, but...
Oh yeah, sure, we've got this. Nope.
Maybe 40, 50
So Germany
years
has
later.
to send some troops back to the east to defend against the Russians. The chief of staff of the Austro-Hungarian army is this guy, and although he is handsome, he turns out not
That's
to be
nice.
the best military strategist.
German name.
Austria-Hungary constantly ignores Germany's advice, and then comes running back to Germany whenever they get in trouble. Austria-Hungary even gets its ass kicked by tiny Serbia, who repels all their invasion attempts at the start of the war. It's better news for Germany in the north, though, where they almost completely wipe out the Russian Second Army. Back on the Western Front, the Germans continue advancing and are in sight of Paris.
They really went
At
for
this
it, going
point,
both
anyone would be
sides.
forgiven for thinking the Germans were going to get that quick victory after all. But then things start to go wrong. The French commander-in-chief knew something had to be done, and he ordered his armies to stop retreating. In the resulting battle, a gap opened up in the German lines. If a gap opens up, the enemy can use it to flank you from the side and behind, so the German armies have to retreat. The Allies launch a counterattack, so the Germans dig into defensive positions. The Allies do the same. Then both sides move
We know
north,
about this,
trying
don't
to
we?
outflank each
Trenches,
other
yeah.
along the way. When they reach the sea,
Depressing as
they're in a
fuck.
stalemate with trench systems running the whole way from the coast to Switzerland, the beginning of trench
That's
warfare
crazy,
on the
though.
Western Front. Here's how trench warfare works. Two opposing lines of trenches with
So this
no
is what we knew about World War One. It is mainly the trenches that we know
Yeah.
about, isn't it? Do you know the football thing where they played football on Christmas Day?
Christmas Day.
You always
yeah.
see that. That's
Is that
quite-
World War One, was it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
and
sure.
in between. One side would pummel the other with hundreds of thousands of artillery shells, sometimes for days at a time. This had a huge psychological effect on the soldiers, leaving many
You'd be
shell-shocked.
messed up when
Yeah.
you're...
Then, the
Feel
attacking troops would
rank
raid their
it was.
trenches
Yeah.
and rush across no man's land.
That's
A muddy,
horrible.
wet mass of shell craters and barbed wire. The defending trench would unleash machine gun fire on the attackers, inflicting thousands of casualties. The attackers would send wave after wave until either they gave up or the opposing trench was finally overrun. There would be months of fighting and the deaths of thousands in order to gain a few meters or kilometers of land.
Jeez.
Living in the trenches was hard work too. Corpses, mud that could swallow you whole, pools of poisonous water, rats, disease, the smell. It's insane that millions of soldiers put up with these conditions, and commanders ordered them to do so for years.
And that's part one. Yeah, this is when the channel was quite new, so the reactions are a lot shorter. But we're gonna get into part two after you get your food,
Yeah.
you little pig. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like the positions they were put in, I mean, I don't think you can compare the two wars because
No.
they're both bad. But like fighting in a trench, I remember like things like trench foot and all this kind of stuff, like
Yeah.
the food that you'd have to eat.
Just being in the trenches in the wet,
Yeah.
like muddy, not
Conditions,
eating,
yeah.
being around dead bodies,
Yeah.
all of that. It's
Yeah, that's true because they just left it, weren't
Yeah,
they? I'm
just
pretty
left.
sure. Oh, that is fucked, man.
you're just in bad situations.
It makes you really just sort of blessed to be in the situation we're in.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
flipping
we are
does.
blessed.
I like how he didn't even introduce his channel and he just started spitting facts. I think this was their first channel. I'm not too sure though. They were, yeah, it was. Thus a legend was born. Can't believe this is his first video. It's pretty high quality. My man literally just started spitting facts and didn't even say who he is. Yeah, that's quite wild. Your first ever video, you just instantly get into it.
Get into it.
And now one of the biggest sort of history channels on the YouTube.
On the YouTube.
History channels on YouTube. But yeah, hopefully enjoyed. Part 2 will be posted like 4 hours after this one has been posted. But until next time, like, subscribe.
See ya.
Peace.